Now Joseph grew old and died in Egypt. Many years later, a new king began to rule. He did not remember Joseph. He did not like Joseph's family. He made them do hard work. He did not even want them to have boy babies. The people of Joseph's family were called Israelites, and the Israelites were afraid of the mean king. One Israelite woman had a baby boy. She wanted to hide him from the king, so she made a special basket. It could float. She put the baby in the basket, then she took the basket to the river. She let it float on the water. The baby's sister hid by the river to watch. She saw the king's daughter, the princess, come down to the river. The princess saw the basket. She opened it and found the baby. She liked the baby. She wanted it to be her own baby. The baby's sister went to the princess. "Do you want someone to take care of this baby for you?" she asked. "Yes," said the princess. So the sister ran and got her mother to take care of the baby. The baby's mother took good care of him. She took him to the princess when he was big enough. The princess named the baby Moses. Moses grew up in the palace. When Moses grew up, he left the palace. He did not like to see how the king made his people work so hard. He went to another land. There he took care of sheep. One day, while he was watching the sheep, he saw a bush covered with fire, but it did not burn up. When he went closer to see the bush, God called him. "Moses, I want you to go to the king. Tell him to let my people leave Egypt." Moses was afraid, but God said, "I will be with you. I promise I will bring the people out of Egypt. I will lead them to a special land." But Moses was still afraid. So God said, "Throw down the rod you are holding." Moses threw it down. It turned into a snake. God said, "Pick it up again." Moses picked it up. It turned back into a rod. God said, "I will use signs like this to show the king that I am with you." So Moses went back to Egypt. He told his people that God would take them out of Egypt. He would lead them to a new land. Moses went to the king. He said, "God wants you to let his people go." But the king said no. So God turned all the water into blood. The people could not drink the water, but the king would not let the people go. God made frogs come over all the land. Frogs were in the ovens, in beds, everywhere. The king said, "Make the frogs go away, then your people can go." But after God took the frogs away, the king said, "No, the people cannot go." God made gnats come over all the land. The gnats were on people. They were on animals, but the king would not let the people go. Then God sent flies to Egypt. The houses were full of flies. The ground was covered with flies. The king said, "The people can go, but take away the flies too." So God took the flies away. But then the king said, "You cannot go." Then God said, "Your cows and horses and donkeys will get sick." And that's what happened. All the animals got sick. But the king still would not let them go. So God made the people of Egypt get sick. They had sores on their bodies, but the king would not let the people go. Then God sent a hailstorm. Hail beat down everything growing in the fields. The king said, "We have had enough. Take the people and go." But when he saw the hail stop, he said, "You cannot go." So God sent locusts all over Egypt. They covered the ground until it was black. They ate the fruit off the trees. The king said, "Take away these locusts, then you can go." But when the locusts were gone, he changed his mind again. Then God sent darkness to cover the land. Even in the daytime it was dark. No one could see anything. They could not leave their houses, but the king still would not let them go. Then God said, "The oldest boy in each family of the people of Egypt will die, but all my people will be safe." It happened just as God said, and that night the king called Moses. "Go," he said. So God's people took all they had and left. God led the people out of Egypt by a pillar of cloud in the daytime. At night he led them in a pillar of fire. He led them to the edge of a sea. Now the king of Egypt sent his army after the Israelites. God's people were scared. The army was chasing them, but they could not get away because the sea was in front of them. Moses said, "Do not be afraid. God will take care of us." God did take care of them. That night, God sent a strong wind to push the sea back. Then God's people could walk across the seabed. On both sides of them, the sea was pushed back. They walked across on dry ground. The army tried to follow them. They tried to cross the sea too, but God made the water pour back over the seabed. The sea covered the whole army. God saved his people. They all sang a song of thanks to God. God's people traveled a long way. They began to complain. They said they did not have enough food, so God sent food to them. That evening at dinner time, quail came for them to catch and eat, and at every breakfast time they found sweet wafers of bread on the ground. They called it manna. The Israelites kept traveling. Everywhere they went, God gave them manna, but at one place there was no water. The people complained again. "Give us water to drink," they told Moses. Moses asked God what to do. God showed Moses a big rock. He told Moses to hit the rock with his staff. Moses did what God told him to. Water poured out of the rock. The people drank all they wanted. One day, the Israelites camped near a mountain. God called Moses up to the mountain. He wanted to talk to Moses. The mountain shook. A thick cloud covered it. There was thunder and lightning. God had come to the mountain in the cloud. Moses went up the mountain. He talked with God. God told Moses the rules he wanted to give to his people. God said, "Do not kill, do not steal, respect your father and mother." He gave them many other rules. God also told Moses to build a house of worship. The people built it just the way God told them to. They called the house the tabernacle. The cloud that led them covered the tabernacle. When the cloud moved, they followed it. They took the tabernacle with them. When the cloud stopped, the people stopped. Finally, God's people came to the land God had promised them. God said, "Send some men into the land to see what it is like." So Moses chose 12 men. He said, "Go into the land, then come back and tell us if it is good or bad. Are the people strong or weak?" The men went into the new land. They brought back some fruit. They said, "It is a good land, but the people are strong. They will fight us and they will win." The Israelites were afraid. "We cannot take the land," they said. Joshua and Caleb said, "Do not be afraid, God is with us." But the people would not listen to them. God was angry with his people. They did not believe he would help them. So God said, "You cannot have the land yet. You will have to travel for 40 more years." And that's just what they did.